7 bone-chilling secrets discovered in the woods at midnight that haunt you forever. In the dead of night, there were whispers in the wind. Not just any whispers, but chilling secrets that twisted through the trees, beckoning the brave and the foolish. Caleb, despite his gut screaming to turn back, felt the pull of curiosity stronger than fear. He stepped deeper into the moonlit forest, where shadows danced like ghosts among the gnarled branches. Every sound was amplified: the rustle of leaves, the distant hoot of an owl, and his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. What he found next would rip his understanding of reality apart. As he ventured on, he stumbled upon a clearing. In the center stood a tree like no other, gnarled and twisted, its bark stained with a dark, sticky substance that glistened in the moonlight. Disturbing shapes carved into it whispered of ancient rituals. A chill ran down his spine. Was it just sap, or something far more sinister? Caleb's breath caught in his throat. He had to know. The air thickened with tension as he noticed odd markings on the ground surrounding the tree. They looked like names written in an unfathomable script that seemed to shimmer as he focused on them. Each name ignited a spark of fear and intrigue. Could these be the lost souls that wandered these woods, forever trapped? A flock of crows suddenly erupted, filling the sky with their frenzied cries. Caleb jumped, his heart racing. He felt he wasn't alone anymore, and then he saw it, a flicker of movement among the trees, a silhouette darting away. He couldn't shake the feeling of eyes watching him. What kind of creatures lurked in these shadows, waiting for an unwary traveler? The stories he'd heard echoed in his mind, tales of hauntings, unexplained phenomena, things that went bump in the night. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Then, as Caleb stood frozen, a low growl broke through the silence, deep and growling like thunder, sending tremors through his legs. His eyes widened, and he spun around, desperately searching for the source. Was it an animal? Was it the woods themselves coming alive? He felt the ground tremble beneath his feet and the air grew thin, as if the forest was holding its breath. Would he be just another name, just another secret buried under the weight of the trees? With every nerve in his body on fire, Caleb took a shaky step back. But the shadows only grew darker, swallowing him whole. What other secrets lay hidden in the depths of that eerie woodland? The forest held its breath, and so did he. Caleb's heart pounded loudly in his chest, a drumbeat echoing the primal fear clawing at him. He turned, not wanting to lose the familiar path, his escape, but the shadows twisted and morphed, creating a maze of darkness behind him. Each branch seemed to reach for him, hands of despair attempting to pull him into their embrace. He glanced back towards the tree. The markings carved into the trunk appeared almost alive, pulsating as if they held a secret rhythm of their own. As he squinted to see more, the wind picked up, howling through the trees and teasing the edges of his sanity. He felt the pull more than ever, and despite every rational thought urging him to flee, he approached the tree again, driven by an insatiable urge to understand. The growl returned, a low and primal sound that rumbled through the night like a warning. Ignoring it, Caleb leaned closer to the bark, his fingers tracing the intricate shapes. The air shifted, becoming colder, brushing against his skin like icy fingers. Then, he noticed something shift at the edge of the clearing. A pair of glowing eyes emerged from the darkness. They were unblinking and cold, watching him with an intensity that made his throat constrict. Caleb froze. His instincts screamed at him to run, yet his feet remained planted as he confronted this unforeseen force. The creature stepped forward, revealing itself from the shadows. It was unlike anything he could comprehend, muscles coiled like springs under its matted fur, claws glistening sharp in the moonlight. A deep growl reverberated again, shaking the very ground he stood on. This wasn't just an animal, it was something of nightmares. Why are you here? The words came not as a sound but a presence, sinking into his mind like ink spreading across paper. Caleb's heart raced. He could feel the weight of the forest pressing in, the ancient secrets waiting to be acknowledged. What do you want from me? He managed to whisper, fear gripping him tightly. The creature's eyes narrowed as if contemplating an answer. You seek knowledge, don't you? It stepped closer, allowing Caleb to see the scars that crisscrossed its body, marks of battles long forgotten. The secrets of the forest come at a price. A chill cascaded down Caleb's spine as the memories of lost souls, the carved names, fused in his mind. Had they all come searching for something? Was he destined to join them in this endless cycle of torment? Caleb shifted his weight, adrenaline surging through him. I'm not afraid, he lied, but in the depth of his being, dread intertwined with curiosity. He was straddling the line between wanting to know and fearing what he might discover. What if you are? The creature said, its voice a blend of sorrow and menace. Knowledge consists of acceptance and sacrifice. As the darkness thickened, he felt a strange urge, a voice that wasn't his whispering for him to take a step closer. The night wrapped around him, every instinct begged him to flee, yet he stood firm. What must I sacrifice? Caleb forced out, each word heavy between them. A sinister smile spread across the creature's face, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Only the things you value most. Caleb's breath caught in his throat. What did that mean? Would he lose everything? Before he could think, panic gripped him, and he stumbled back, breaking his gaze from that haunting apparition. The woods seemed to close in, darkness swirling around him in a tightening grip. Run! A voice shattered the air, a voice that sounded eerily familiar. Caleb spun around to find himself staring into another pair of eyes, human this time, filled with urgency and terror. You have to get out of here. They're coming for you. His heart raced. Who was this person? What did they mean? With the creature growling behind him, Caleb faced a choice that could alter everything. What awaited behind him, the cruel whispers of the forest. And who was this stranger who seemed to know him? The night deepened, shadows coiling tighter around them. The time for running was now or never. But what if the forest had decided that it wouldn't let him escape so easily? Caleb's breath came in shallow gasps as he locked eyes with the stranger. The urgency radiating off this person was palpable. Who are you? He managed to croak, his voice a mere echo of the panic he felt. They're coming for you. The stranger insisted, glancing back towards the shadows that shrouded the tree, the creature still lurking just beyond the edge of comprehension. You have to trust me. There's no time to explain. With that, the stranger turned abruptly, sprinting towards a narrow path formed between the thick underbrush. Caleb hesitated for a fraction of a second, his instincts battling his desire for answers. The growl echoed again, more menacing, and he could feel its vibrations through the ground. He had to follow. Wait! He shouted, plunging after the figure darting through the trees. Branches clawed at him as if trying to keep him from escaping. The familiar, chilling howl of the forest wrapped around him, urging him into despair. Over here! The stranger turned back, their expression masked with urgency and fear. Caleb barely caught a glimpse of their features, dark hair sticking to their forehead, eyes wide with unrelenting panic. Who are you? Caleb repeated, feeling frantic now, a tight knot forming in his gut. What do you know about them? There's no time. The forest isn't safe. They shouted, pushing through the brush and glancing anxiously over their shoulder. Caleb pressed on, forcing himself to ignore the ache in his legs, the way the trees seemed to warp and stretch into grotesque forms as he moved deeper into the darkness. Suddenly, a howling wind erupted, rattling through the trees, drowning out everything, the cries of the forest, the growls of the beast behind him. The stranger skidded to a stop, and Caleb almost collided. They turned to face the oncoming darkness, the fear in their eyes now transformed into something steely, determined. "What do we do?" Caleb asked, breathless, glancing back toward the unseen creature, the whispering shadows. The stranger's eyes narrowed, voice steadying. "We fight," they said, grasping Caleb's arm tightly. "Look, I know what you're facing. But this forest, it's a prison for those who come searching for knowledge. It's trapped them, and now it wants you." "What do you mean?" "I didn't ask for any of this." Panic surged again, twisting Caleb's insides. The stranger shook their head, breaths coming in sharp bursts. "It doesn't matter. You're here now, and when shadows call, you can't ignore them." Their grip softened just a fraction, but their gaze remained unwavering. "I'm here to help, but you have to listen." Caleb's mind raced, recollections of the forest whispering to him, those haunting carvings on the tree, the terrible choice he faced. He forced himself to take a deep breath, shaking the lingering uncertainty. "Okay, I'm ready. Just tell me how," he replied, the weight of fear resting heavier than before but now mixed with a thread of resolve. "Then we need to get to the heart of this where the shadows gather. If we can reach it, we can confront them together. They feed off fear, but they're ancient beings that can be swayed, even defeated." The woods began to groan around them, branches creaking like old bones as if the forest was alive and part of a bigger, darker heartbeat. "We have to go," the stranger said, urgency creeping back into their voice. And just as they began to sprint again, Caleb felt a sharp bite of cold at the back of his neck. He whipped around, eyes widening as the beast stepped into the dim light filtering through the trees, its eyes glowing with an unnatural hunger. The moment before he ran felt suspended in time, both the monster and the forest closing in. He took off, fighting the surge of panic threatening to overwhelm him. There was no turning back now, he was caught up in the enigma, both a seeker of answers and prey to the dark, but as the woods whispered around them, one thought burrowed deep into his mind: what did the deeper darkness want from him? And would he pay the ultimate sacrifice just to uncover the truth? Caleb found himself wondering if he could survive the heart of the forest or if he would become just another name carved into the tree. The ground thudded beneath Caleb's feet, a quickened rhythm matching the pulse in his throat. He ran, his heart racing, every instinct screaming at him to escape. But there was no escape. Not now. The creature was behind him, its breath hot and fetid, the rustle of leaves a chilling reminder that he wasn't alone. "Faster!" the stranger shouted, pulling Caleb along the twisting path. "Do not look back." He could hardly breathe, panic suffocating his thoughts like a thick fog. Not look back? The growls twisted into something human-like, echoes of voices wailing for help, for release. His mind wavered, caught between fear and the absurdity of trusting a stranger in the dark. They raced deeper into the trees, shadows stretching and twisting as if reaching out to snatch them. The air grew heavier, thick with an energy that sent chills down Caleb's spine. "Why do they want me?" he yelled over the cacophony of rustling leaves and howling wind. "What did I do?" The stranger glanced back, their features stark in the murky light. "It's not you they want. It's your fear. You have light in you they can't stand, and they're hungry. Trust me, keep running." Caleb wanted to scream that he couldn't understand, that this made no sense. All his life he felt like he was searching for something, searching for meaning, for purpose. Now it seemed that even in this chaos, he was still hunting for some kind of truth. A chorus of deep growls rumbled from behind them. It was like being pushed by an unseen force, the urge to flee igniting something primal within him. Caleb pushed himself forward, the trailing bush pulling at his clothes, and suddenly he felt a flicker of hope deep inside. He could do this. He had to do this. "Look!" The stranger pointed ahead. There, through the trees, Caleb glimpsed a faint glow. "That's where the heart of the forest lies. We can get to it, we can confront them." The light pulsed gently, casting a soft glow that fought back the encroaching shadows. As they sprinted toward it, the growls morphed into human whispers, urging Caleb to stop, to turn around. "Caleb!" the stranger shouted, snapping him from the trance. "Stay with me." But suddenly, Caleb's foot caught on a root, and he stumbled, feeling the cool dirt rush up to meet him. Panic surged anew as he turned, preparing himself to fight whatever was behind him. Out of the dark surged the beast, a monstrous silhouette with slashing claws and gaping jaws. Its eyes were two burning coals against the night, reflecting only hunger and desperation. "Get up!" the stranger yelled. "Now!" They lunged back, pulling Caleb upright just as the creature lunged forward. With adrenaline coursing through him, Caleb scrambled up, darting to the side as the beast snapped at him, reckless and savage. "Run!" They surged forward once more, the pulsing light ahead now brighter, revealing the glowing core of twisted, gnarled trees, all entwined as if fighting against the darkness that threatened to consume them. I can't." Caleb gasped, agonizing breaths punctuating his words. He felt the weight of fear clawing at his throat, battling the flame of defiance igniting within him. "Remember why you're here, Caleb. You want the truth, right? Then keep going. You have to face it, no matter the cost." He hesitated at the brink of the clearing, where the glow was the strongest. All that lay before him was the unknown, but behind him was the relentless, gnashing teeth of the beast. His breath hitched. The truth, did he really want it? With a final glance back at the approaching horror, Caleb pushed himself forward into the heart of the forest, ready to confront whatever awaited him there, but as he stepped into the light, the world shifted. The forest rippled like water, and all at once, he was no longer running, he was standing in place, a figure before him shifting through the veil of light. "Welcome, Caleb," a smooth voice echoed, dripping with foreboding. "You've finally arrived and your journey has only just begun." Caleb's heart raced as he faced this new entity. Was it friend or foe? What now lay ahead in the all-consuming darkness? He braced himself for revelations that could shatter all he knew. Would he emerge stronger, or would the forest claim him entirely? The figure before him took shape, shifting from mere light into something more tangible, more menacing. Caleb swallowed hard, his throat dry and tight as he glanced at the stranger beside him, who stood resolute, yet visibly shaken. "Who are you?" Caleb managed to croak, his voice barely cutting through the tension that hung like thick fog. The figure smiled, but it didn't reach its eyes. Those cold, calculating eyes bore into Caleb's soul as if they were reading the very essence of him. "I am what you seek, and much more," it said, the words laced with an unsettling calm. "You've been brought here not just to confront the darkness, but to uncover its secrets and perhaps even embrace it." "Embrace it?" Caleb echoed, confusion mixing with growing dread. He felt the shadows twitching around him, whispering dark promises, as claws of fear gripped his heart once more. "Yes," the figure replied, stepping closer, its voice soothing yet sinister. "You see, the fear inside you is what they crave. They feed on it, thrive on it. And you, Caleb, harbor a light that can either extinguish their hunger or plunge you into an abyss you've never imagined." The stranger beside him shifted uncomfortably, but Caleb couldn't take his eyes off the figure, which seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Part of him wanted to look away, to escape again, but another part, the one that had pushed him through the woods, craved the truth, craved understanding. "What do you mean by light?" Caleb asked, desperation edging his voice. "What makes me different?" "Ah, the age-old question," the figure said, folding its hands together. "What does it mean to be human? To feel, to hope, to fear? You have the potential to awaken a power deep within, a power that can resist their pull. But first. Caleb interrupted, his heart thumping loudly in his chest. "First, you must recall your greatest fear, face it with open arms." The figure's radiant smile shifted, revealing a hint of teeth that were far too sharp. "It is the only way forward through the darkness." Caleb steeled himself, every instinct within him screaming to flee, yet he found himself stepping closer, compelled by a force he didn't yet understand. What if I can't face it? Then the shadows will consume you, the figure warned, leaning forward. It's either embrace your truth or surrender to your nightmares. A crack echoed in the silence, and Caleb's head whipped around to find the shadows swirling, dark figures emerging from them, their features obscured but brimming with malice. Caleb! The stranger shouted, stepping between him and the advancing shadows. You don't have to do this alone. Control your fear, Caleb, the figure urged, unfazed. The moment you allow despair to take hold, the hunt will truly begin. Each emotion, every memory, twisted against you, those who sought to bring you down will rise, seeking vengeance. The forest trembled, the ground vibrating beneath them as shadows seemed to reach out, wrapping around Caleb's legs. He stood paralyzed, wrestling with the enormity of the decision before him. He needed to confront his past. He needed to face it now or risk it consuming him. Okay, he finally said, pumping strength into his voice. Show me my fear and let us get this over with. The figure laughed lightly, an echo that bounced off the trees, and with that sound, Caleb was swept into blinding light. It enveloped him completely, and for a moment, he felt weightless, suspended between worlds. But as the radiance dimmed, he was plunged into a memory, one that clawed at the edges of his mind, dragging him back into the depths of a waking nightmare. Caleb found himself in a place that felt all too familiar, echoes of laughter fading into screams. His childhood room stared back at him, but the walls were stained with shadows, and every picture frame was cracked and broken. No, Caleb whispered, dread pooling in his stomach. It was here, in this place, that the truth of his greatest fear lay waiting. He had entered the heart of his own darkness, and it was hungry. Would he have the strength to fight it, or would he once again find himself lost in the terror of his past? The shadows whispered his name, and Caleb steeled himself for the inevitable. Would he overcome the darkest parts of himself or give in to the very fear that had hunted him all his life? The shadows quivered around Caleb as he stood motionless, confronted by memories that threatened to consume him whole. The familiar feel of the worn carpet beneath his bare feet sent a jolt through him, straining against the suffocating presence of fear pressing in from all sides. He glanced around the dimly lit room, every corner shrouded in deep darkness, every familiar object twisted into something unrecognizable. His childhood bed lay against the wall, sheets crumpled and stained as if a battle had been fought on top of it. The edges of the room seemed to sag under the weight of his regret, the ambience thick with promises of despair. Why are you here? Caleb shouted into the void, each word echoing off the walls like an alarm. Because you summoned us, a voice hissed, familiar yet twisted, crawling from the shadows like a serpent. Caleb's breath caught as the ghostly images of his past began to take form. Faces emerged, each one etched with disappointment and pain, the taunts of childhood friends, the cold face of his father, the shocked expression of his mother on the day he failed them all. Face what you fear, Caleb. The figure's words echoed inside his mind. They weren't just pushing him forward, they were pulling him back, chaining him to his mistakes. Hands trembling, Caleb stepped closer to the heart of the room, his old desk, laden with remnants of youthful hope. A picture frame caught his eye. He reached out for it, the glass cool against his skin. Inside was a photo of him and his childhood best friend, Karen, both beaming with an innocence he had long lost. But the faces were blurred, and Caleb could almost feel the weight of the regret pressing down on him. Do you remember the last time you saw her? The shadows mocked. The air turned icy, biting at his skin. Caleb nodded slowly, the memory cutting deep. The fight. It had been over something so trivial, the words slicing like knives. He had lashed out, and in return, Karen had walked away, never to return. The news of her accident had shattered him, but he buried the guilt beneath layers of denial. Face your guilt. It's the only path through. The figure's voice rang out again, and the shadows pulsed with anticipation. Karen, Caleb whispered, and tears blurred his vision. He stumbled back, shaking his head. I can't face this. You must. It's the only way to control it. The figure leaned closer, its breath cold against his ear. If you do not confront your past, it will swallow you whole. Suddenly, the shadows lunged, revealing figures from his nightmares. They twisted, screaming shapes that echoed past traumas, voices pulling him deeper into despair, threatening to drown him. You didn't save her. They chanted, a cruel chorus mixed with laughter. Caleb pressed a shaking hand to his head, fighting to keep himself grounded. I won't give in. You're too weak, a voice cut in, unmistakably his father's. You always were. With an anguished scream, Caleb pivoted, seeing their faces twisted in grotesque mockery. He felt the weight of his fear, like anchors dragging him down into a bottomless abyss. Somehow, he needed to break free, to rewrite his story before the shadows sealed his fate. He took a deep breath. No! He shouted, clenching his fists. I won't be afraid anymore. The room seemed to tremble, the shadows recoiling from his declaration. In that moment, he felt a spark of defiance ignite within him. Maybe he could rewrite his past, maybe he could face the very fear that had haunted him for so long, but doubt clawed at the edges of his resolve. What if he was wrong? Suddenly, everything changed again. The ground beneath him cracked open, pulling Caleb closer to the heart of his darkness, and he felt himself falling, spiraling down into the echo of his own fears. What awaited him at the bottom? Would he find the strength to finally confront his past and embrace the light within, or would he descend into the shadows forever? As the darkness loomed closer, Caleb's heart raced. This was just the beginning, and the depths were only getting darker. Caleb slipped through the void of darkness, the air rushing past him like a storm. He felt weightless, and yet, every ounce of fear he'd ever carried pressed down on him. The shadows whirled and danced, taunting him, their whispers growing louder, leeching at the edges of his sanity. He landed hard on cold ground, a grave silence wrapping around him like a shroud. Instantly, the chill struck him, and he recognized he was no longer in his childhood room. The air was thick with an unnatural haze, dim shapes lurking in the periphery of his vision. His pulse raced as the feeling of being watched stole his breath away. Welcome, Caleb, a whisper echoed in the vast emptiness, the voice hauntingly familiar. The tones twisted sharply into the dim light, pulling together to reveal the figure of Karen. She looked just as he remembered, but her features were shadowed, her smile so warm once now tinged with sorrow. You've come to face me, haven't you? Caleb's heart hammered in his chest, caught between relief and dread. I can't do this, he stammered, stepping back, ready to flee back into the abyss. He felt as though the walls were closing in, memories threatening to rise with each moment spent searching her gaze. You must! She cried, her voice becoming more urgent, more ethereal. You left me behind, Caleb. This is the only way to find peace. I tried to forget. He faltered, clenching his fists, while despair twisted in his gut. I buried you, but it always comes back. A series of dark figures materialized around him, friends, family, all those blurry faces of the past. Their eyes pierced through the darkness, glaring with accusations. You ran from your guilt. They hissed, surrounding him. You can't keep hiding, Caleb. You failed us. No. He shouted, panic rising. I didn't mean to. How could I have known? It was just a fight. But Karen stepped forward, her wide eyes filled with an icy intensity that ripped through him like a knife. And now you're a coward, Caleb. You let your fears dictate your life. It's time to accept who you really are. The ground shuddered, and cracks sparked beneath Caleb's feet, revealing an endless abyss. One step backward and he'd slip into the darkness again. You don't understand, he said, voice trembling. I've tried to keep my past at bay. I thought that was the answer. Running won't save you. Karen's voice lowered, softer now, laced with sorrow. You must confront your truth. Only then will you understand the choices that bind you and the bones in the shadows that ask to be unearthed. The air crackled with intensity as Caleb glanced around at the faces, confusion overwhelming him. What bones? What are you talking about? Reverberating laughter echoed, a chorus of familiar and foreign voices intertwining, suffocating him. You have so many secrets buried in the woods, they taunted. Secrets that haunt you. A sudden wave of realization crashed over him. The memories he had dismissed, the whispers of his friends and his childhood, everything was leading him back to that spot in the woods where he and Karen had shared their dreams and darkest fears. I never went back, he murmured to himself, legs quaking. I thought if I didn't return, it wouldn't matter anymore. That's where you're wrong. Karen's silhouette began to dissolve, her voice lingering, echoing the need for him to understand. Your past is only buried until you bring it back to life. Face the truth now, or the darkness will claim you. Caleb felt the ground shake beneath him again, the shadowy whispers clawing at him with desperation. They were urging him forward, toward the reckoning he had put off for far too long. What secrets lay festering in those woods? As the darkness began pulling him once more, Caleb's heart thudded in his chest. He steeled himself for the journey ahead. Will you follow? A sinister whisper taunted, leaving him at the junction of fear and clarity. He inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of his choice resting on his shoulders. Time was running out. What truths would he discover, and what horrors would he have to confront in order to escape this cycle of pain? The darkness shrieked, demanding his decision, while the shadows beckoned him closer to that haunting path in the woods. Caleb stumbled forward, the darkness swallowing him whole as the whispers twisted into a maddening cacophony. Each step felt heavy, like wading through thick fog, the shadows around him pressing closer, hungry for his fear. The echo of his own breath filled the void, but the air grew sharper, laced with chill and an ominous heaviness. Caleb, Karen's voice floated through the shadows, closer now, as if she had come to guide him. You have to remember. It's all connected. His heart raced. Memories lost and buried began surfacing uninvited, each one sharper than a knife. He could almost see the woods now, the trees looming like sentinels under a pale moonlight. What had happened there? The questions clawed at him, but the fear of knowing kept him immobilized. Please, don't go back there, a voice whispered from behind him, small and afraid. It was a child's voice, echoing his own inward thoughts. The image of his younger self at that fateful gathering filled his mind. They had been so alive, so hopeful, hiking deeper into the woods, far away from anything they thought could harm them, then the accident. The screams. The blood. Caleb's stomach roiled as he fought against the memory. No! He cried, clenching his fists. I'm not ready. But it was too late. The shadows had aligned, pulling him further toward the truth he shunned for so long. The truth won't wait for you, Karen urged, her figure shifting under the weight of each confession. You are strong enough now. As she spoke, the darkness twisted, creating images that flickered around him like half-formed ghosts. The faces of friends, laughing one moment, spiraled into anguish the next. They were shadows of a past he tried so hard to forget, their pain seeping into his skin. What bones were buried out there? What secrets rested deep in the earth, festering like old wounds? Caleb felt his resolve waning as he stepped closer to the center of that haunting path, the stifling wisdom pressing upon him. With each step, a horrific scene materialized before him, a wooded clearing bathed in the pallid light of the moon. For the first time, he felt the overhanging dread wrap around him like the fog. Dark shapes moved in the corners of his vision, pulling his attention like a magnet toward the earth below. It was an accident, wasn't it? Caleb shouted into the void, desperation spilling from his lips. We didn't mean to hurt anyone. The ground trembled, tasting his guilt. Shadows trembled and shifted, whispering their own acknowledgement of his fear. We know why you're here. Suddenly, a wailing erupted, raw and agonizing one that felt familiar, echoing memories he tried to suppress. It sliced through the air, an accusation that rang too true. His vision blurred, and he took a step back, but the shadows closed in, pushing him toward the clearing, a siren call luring him into the heart of confrontation. "I have to know," he shouted defiantly, fighting the urge to flee. The only way to escape was through. His heart echoed his resolve. He took another step forward, resolving himself once and for all to face the buried truths of the past, but as he reached the center of the clearing, the shadows erupted, coalescing into a tortured form, a figure he recognized all too well. It was Karen, her silhouette distorted, reflecting her torment as she pointed downwards, muttering words he could barely comprehend. "Below surface lies," she gasped before the shadows engulfed her entirely, cutting off her warning. Caleb's breath caught, panic surging through him. What lay beneath? What price might he have to pay? Without thinking, he dropped to his knees, hastily digging into the soft earth with trembling hands, urgency and horror mixing within him. He felt cold clay slide between his fingers, the clammy dirt sinking around his palms. As he unearthed the first bone, the scream of anguish cracked through the air again, echoing through the darkness. Caleb froze, heart racing wildly. The horror of discovery loomed before him. He was about to confront everything he had buried. Would he uncover the truths that could finally exorcise his demons, or awaken something far more sinister, clawing desperate to return to the living? The whispers grew louder, drowning out his thoughts. What else lies beneath the surface? They taunted, leaving Caleb gripping the bone, error freezing him in place. What horror awaited him beneath, waiting to breach the surface once more? Caleb's fingers trembled as he cradled the bone, its surface slick with fresh earth. A chill pricked his skin, as if the very air around him had turned into a living, breathing thing. It wasn't just a bone, it was a key to a door he had kept locked in the deepest recesses of his mind. Each heartbeat echoed the frantic whispers, "What else lies beneath?" He forced himself to look around, but the clearing was shifting, a surreal dance of shadows and memories, weaving a tapestry of terror. The edges of the woods seemed to close in tighter, their gnarled branches stretching like fingers, aching to snatch him back into the darkness. "Karen!" he shouted, desperation cracking his voice. "What did you mean? What lies below?" But only the haunting wail returned, wrapping around him like an invisible shroud. The sound shuddered through his bones, a cold reminder of the past he had tried so hard to forget. With a sudden surge of determination, Caleb dug deeper into the earth. What else had they left behind in their reckless abandon? A second bone slid into his grasp, this one thicker, more substantial. He hesitated, suddenly filled with dread. Each relic he uncovered could be another piece of their shattered innocence, talismans of guilt that had tethered him to this place. A memory flickered to life, unbidden. Laughter, bright and buoyant, filled the air like sunbeams filtering through leaves, a simpler time before everything had gone awry. Then, the laughing faces morphed into terrified expressions, shock etched deep into their features as the truth crashed down upon them. "No!" he gasped, the bone slipping from his fingers. Was it truly an accident? Everything inside him screamed that he couldn't bear to remember, not now, not ever. The very earth beneath him felt alive, pulsating with anger and grief. He blinked away tears, frustration igniting a fire inside him. "I can't run. I deserve to know," he shouted defiantly into the void. With renewed purpose, he plunged his hands back into the cool, damp earth. The soil felt familiar now, sore and abandoned, as if it held the weight of long-buried stories waiting to rise. As the next fragment of bone surfaced, the wind picked up suddenly, howling through the clearing, its voice a cacophony of anguish. Caleb's heart raced, but he pressed on, pulling another bone free. This one was smaller, delicate, agonizingly so. Instinctively, he understood, this belonged to someone who had been shared among the group, a friend long lost. Fear clawed at his throat, but he couldn't stop. "Show me!" he yelled, a plea to the shadows swirling around him. "Let me see what you're hiding." Then it happened. The earth shifted violently beneath him, a rumble that shook the clearing and sent dark shapes swirling into chaos. It was as if the very ground was protesting his intrusion, wanting to keep its secrets intact. Caleb was thrown back, landing hard against the damp ground, breath knocked from his lungs. From the depths of the earth, a hissing sound escaped, a mix of anger and desperation, twisting in the air like smoke. "What have you disturbed?" A voice echoed, hollow and familiar. It chilled him to the bone. Was it Karen, or something else? The shadows twitched, forming into figures that darted on the edge of his vision, shifting shapes that threatened to swallow him whole. And just like that, Caleb realized he didn't just dig up bones. He had unearthed something far more sinister, a truth spreading like wildfire in his chest. A searing terror reminded him, secrets weren't meant to be unearthed, and he was about to pay the ultimate price for seeking the truth. As the shadowy figures swarmed him, curling around his limbs like vines, a single thought pierced through the fog of fear. What would he have to sacrifice to uncover everything buried in the dark? The air thickened, suffocating him, and the whispers crescendoed into screams. What would he find in the depths of his own buried truth, and would he emerge alive to face it? The pressure of Caleb's thoughts crackled like electricity in the charged atmosphere. Gradually, the swirling shadows transformed into faces, haunting memories flaring to life before him. Each one emerged from the void, an echo of despair etched in his mind, and one face stood out among all the terrified expression of Karen from that fateful day. "I'm sorry," he cried, instinctively recoiling, but the shadows surged, wrapping tighter and tighter, like a noose. "It wasn't meant to happen. It's all my fault." He found himself back in the moments of that tragedy, screaming as they all lost their footing, the branch giving way. He saw Karen reaching out, her grasp slipping just before disaster struck. "Face it, Caleb." A shadowy figure bore down on him, its voice twisted in rage. "You turned your back when it mattered most. You could have saved her." "No. I didn't mean it." He was fighting back tears, icy terror seeping into his bones as he grasped one of the bones in his hands, feeling the life it once encapsulated pulse through him, a reminder of innocence lost. Suddenly, a chill swept through the clearing, and with it came clarity. The very shadows that warned him to stay away were not just conduits of fear, they were messengers, illuminated by the truth buried within each bone. "I need to make this right," he whispered, determination washing over him like a cleansing tide. "I need to forgive myself to free you." He threw open his arms to the shadows, defiance igniting his spirit. "I will not let fear control me any longer." Caleb felt fury and light coalescing within him, a potent mix of grief and courage that turned into a flame of hope. A chorus of piercing wails rose from the shadows, spiraling into deeper howls, but he stood firm. "If you wish to haunt me, you must also let me heal." He felt the sorrow twist around him, pressing ever harder, but he pushed through it with every ounce of resolve left in his shaken heart. "Caleb!" The figures cried, their voices a mix of pleading and anger. "No one can escape this torment. Yet here I am." He roared, each word vibrating with raw emotion. "I have the power to break this cycle. I lost Karen, but it was my fear that stopped me from moving on." In that instant, the shadows paused, doubt flickering amidst their darkness. Was it true? Could he really find peace through acceptance and resolution? Would they let him lift the weight of despair off their spectral shoulders? "Yes, Karen," he murmured softly. "You're still part of me, and I have to honor that. I will not forget." The ground shook beneath him, a tremor that surged through Caleb, rattling open the ancient fears held deep within. The bones he held glowed softly now, pulsing gently as if in response to his words. A rush of strength coursed through him. He understood that truth and acknowledgement were his powers. He had the ability to write the ending he always wanted, one where they could all find solace. "I confront my guilt, my fears," he said, voice steady, heart full as he slowly released the bones into the earth. "You do not have to dwell in shadows any longer." A roar erupted, one of pain, anguish, and finally, breakthrough. As Caleb faced the tumult of haunting memories, the shadows gradually began to lift. The more he released, the lighter he felt. Each ethereal figure shimmered, their anguish unspooling into the night air. "I remember you," he called out as Karen's face swam before him, softer now, less distorted. "You were my friend, and I love you. I am so sorry." And with that, they began to change, their solid forms dissolving into ephemeral light that spiraled upward toward the heavens. Each face, each echo of pain and fear transformed into love and understanding, ascending with each pulse of forgiveness emitted from Caleb's heart. "Thank you," a voice, a clear and warm whisper intertwined with the breeze, swirling around him like a gentle embrace. "Thank you," he echoed, tears flowing freely now as the final vestiges of darkness retreated, lifting the weight that had burdened him for so long. As dawn broke over the waking forest, Caleb stood amidst the light filtering through the branches. The trees, once oppressive and gnarled, now swayed gently, almost sighing in relief. He had braved the darkness and emerged not only for himself but also for the lost souls who could finally find peace. Caleb turned toward the horizon, breath steady and heart renewed. He felt like a different man, a guardian of memories, a bearer of light, and as he stepped away from the heart of the forest, every part of him rejoiced in the freedom he had reclaimed. This was the moment of true liberation. So now, my friends, you've journeyed with Caleb through these haunting woods. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on exclusive stories that resonate with the depths of our souls. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep this community alive. Flood the comments section with your thoughts. What did you think of Caleb's journey? What do you believe awaits in the shadows? Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference, and together we can embrace every story that awaits us.